morning to all my viewers. My name is Afrin Javed. I am a year 3 medical student. So the aim of most of my videos is for educational purpose, mainly for the students. So it will be really helpful for a quick revision just before the exams. So most of my videos are based on a clinical content, but in order to understand the clinical aspects better, so we will brush up through the anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, all those basic sciences just to have a better understanding. So to begin with, today our topic is cardiovascular system. So I will be discussing various clinical approaches to the heart diseases, but then to begin with, we will have the anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology of the heart first. So to begin with, this is the anatomy of the heart. So this is the basic simple diagrammatic representation of our heart, of the human heart. So as we all know, heart is a pyramidal hollow structure located in the middle mediastinum between the two lungs. So it is one of the most important vital organs in the thoracic cavity. So as we all say, it is the size of the fist. So basically heart doesn't have a definite size in every person. It is different, so depending upon the size of the body. So to begin with, the heart has 4 chambers, which is so this is the right side of the heart and this is the left side of the heart. So just in case you don't get confused. So as we all know, heart has 4 chambers. So this is the right atrium, this is the right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. So heart has basically 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles. And then the heart, to begin with, we will start with the right atrium alone. So the right atrium has the blood, basically the right side of the heart receives the deoxygenated blood and the left side of the heart receives the oxygenated blood. So the deoxygenated blood is carried from all over the body, from the venous system, and deposited to the right atrium. So the right atrium receives blood from the superior vena cava. This is the superior vena cava, bringing the blood from the upper part of the superior vena cava brings the blood from the upper part of the body, which is like mostly the head, neck, above the heart, whatever is above the heart. And then this is the inferior vena cava, whose opening I've depicted here. So inferior vena cava brings the blood from all the parts of the body which are below the heart, mostly below the diaphragm. So apart from that, we have something called coronary sinus, which is the main blood vessel draining the venous drainage of the heart itself. So basically, the right atrium is receiving blood from three veins, which is superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus. So from this right atrium, the blood gets blood is pumped to the right ventricle via the tricuspid valve. So there are 2 atrioventricular valves, which are the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve. So this is the tricuspid valve. Tricuspid means it has 3 cusps. And then this is the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. So via this valve, the blood flows from the right atrium to the right ventricle. So from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped to the pulmonary trunk. So it is important to understand the blood flow pathway in order to understand the physiology as well as the pathophysiology of various diseases. So what happens is, once the blood comes to the right ventricle and it is pumped from here via the pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk actually divides into 2 parts, which is the right and the left pulmonary arteries. So it carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. So you can imagine. So the right pulmonary artery to the right lung and the left pulmonary artery to the left lung. Okay, the oxygenated blood goes to the left atrium. So the blood gets oxygenated and it's going to the left atrium, which has four pulmonary veins. So two from the right and 2 from the left. So this one is pulmonary veins. So just a quick revision. So basically the blood, all the deoxygenated blood from the upper and the lower part of the body and the heart itself is going to the right atrium. And from the right atrium, the blood gets pumped to the right ventricle via the tricuspid valve. And then the blood from the pulmonary artery goes to the heart to the right ventricle and to the right lung and the left lung for oxygenation. Once it is oxygenated, the oxygenated blood goes back to the left atrium. So from left atrium via 4 pulmonary veins, which is like originating in the posterior aspect of the heart. So from here, the blood again gets pumped to the left ventricle via the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve, which we spoke about. And then from here, the blood is pumped to the circulation, to the systemic circulation via the aorta. So this is the Okay, talking about the internal surface of the heart, basically we know that heart has 3 layers, namely the epicardium, myocardium and the endocardium, and the whole heart itself is covered in a fibroserous sac called as the pericardial membrane. So coming to the internal surface of the heart, The atria and the ventricles both have smooth and rough surfaces lining them. So in atria, the smooth surface is called as the sinus venerum, whereas the rough surface is called as musculi pectinati. In ventricles, on the other hand, the smooth surface is called as the infundibulum, whereas the rough surface is called as the trabeculae carneae. So, in the atria, between the rough and the smooth surfaces, the sinus, which is the sinus venerum and the musculi pectinati, is separated by a layer called as crista terminalis. So, as you see, this is like the half of the heart, which is transverse section of the heart. Um, the rough surface is usually the anterior surface of the heart, and this one which I have drawn here is the smooth surface of the heart. So this one is separated by something called as crista terminalis. So this thing here is the most important part for the conduction of the heart, which is the SA node. So as you see, the location of the SA node lies just in the superior surface of the crista terminalis, and this one is known as the AV node, which lies in the AV node, which lies in the interatrial septum, in the lower part of the interatrial septum towards the left of the inferior vena cava. So these two are the most important parts for the conduction system. We will talk in detail about them in a while. So as you see, these are the cusps which I described as tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve. So these cusps, actually the pulling mechanism is like there are cords attached to this cusp called as chordae tendineae. So these things are the cords attached to the cusp called as chordae tendineae. So it is attached to the muscles in the ventricle, which are called as papillary muscles. Okay, coming back to this classification, the ventricles have smooth and rough surfaces. So the rough surface of the ventricle, called as trabecular carneae, has three types. Okay, it can be either a bridge type or ridge type or papillary muscles. So usually the rough surface itself is the ridge type. The bridge type is mainly called as this one, septum transversum. This is a very important part because it is forming a connection between the papillary muscles. So it is forming a connection between the interventricular septum, as you see. So when we read more detail about the conduction system, we know that the bundle of his and the Purkinje fibers of the bundle of his lie in this space, and then they are the ones transmitting the electrical conducting impulses from the superior from the SA node to the rest of the ventricle to undergo the contraction itself. So when this band like structure forms a shortcut, like a short path, it actually has to come via this pathway and then spread to the whole myocardium, and then the whole heart undergoes the contraction. But then due to this band like structure over here, the electrical impulses from the conduction system reaches the papillary muscles first, so that the papillary muscles contract and pull the cusps, closing them or shutting them down, and then the entire heart undergoes contraction. So it is very important for us to know about these papillary muscles and chordae tendineae, because later when we study about the conditions like heart failure and valvular lesions like mitral regurgitation and all that can be caused due to the rupture of these structures, like rupture of the chordae tendineae, rupture of the papillary muscles, etc. Okay, to begin with, the blood supply of the heart. This is a very simple diagram I've drawn for understanding the blood vessel distribution on the heart. So main supply of the blood for the heart is from the right and the left coronary arteries. So this is the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery. The right coronary artery arises from the anterior aortic sinus. So as you see, near the root of the ascending aorta, there is a minute dilatation like thing called as aortic sinuses. So there are two aortic sinuses, anterior and posterior. From the anterior aortic sinus, there is arisal of the right coronary artery. So the right coronary artery runs in the coronary sulcus between the right atrium and the right ventricle. So it runs and then it goes to the posterior aspect along the inferior border of the heart. It goes posteriorly between the right atrium and the left atrium and ends by anastomosing with the left coronary artery across the posterior interventricular groove. So then the branches of this are SA nodal artery to the SA node, then AV nodal artery to the AV node. It gives a right marginal branch which runs along the inferior border of the heart, and posterior interventricular branch running in the posterior interventricular septum. So basically there are four branches. There are four branches of the right coronary artery, which is SA nodal artery, right marginal branch, AV nodal artery, and the posterior interventricular branch. So for the left coronary artery, it arises from the posterior aortic sinus. It is the larger branch of the ascending aorta compared to the right coronary artery. Left one is larger, and then after a short course, it divides into two, which is the anterior interventricular artery and the circumflex artery, or the circumflex branch. So the circumflex branch goes behind. It continues posteriorly and goes an anastomosis with the right coronary artery. On that, so the circumflex branch gives rise to the left marginal branch, which arises from the circumflex branch and flows to the left border of the heart. So venous drainage of the heart. So this is pretty much what the blood supply is like. So it is important to know this because when there is an occlusion to the blood supply, either occlusion of main coronary artery or any of the branches of the coronary artery, it can cause severe anginal chest pain, and eventually when there is ischemia of the heart, it can cause like myocardial infarction, eventually resulting in decreased cardiac function and causing the heart to fail. So for the venous drainage, the venous drainage is mainly by the coronary sinus, as we spoke while discussing the structural anatomy of the heart. The coronary sinus mainly drains the heart itself. It is the drainage of the heart itself, and it opens into the right atrium. So it begins as a continuation of the great cardiac vein. So what are the veins? Basically, we need to know the names of the veins first. So there is great cardiac vein, middle cardiac vein, small cardiac vein. Then there is posterior vein of the left ventricle, anterior cardiac veins, and oblique vein of Marshall. So these are just the names of the vein. You need to know where they lie. So to begin with, the great cardiac vein, it accompanies the anterior interventricular artery and the circumflex artery of the left. These are the branches of left coronary artery. So it runs along with them. Arteries always run with veins. So the great cardiac vein runs along the anterior interventricular groove with the anterior interventricular artery and the circumflex artery, and it anastomoses in the coronary sinus. It ends as the coronary sinus. So basically the end of the great cardiac vein is the beginning of the coronary sinus. And then the middle cardiac vein is arising from the joins towards the left of the posterior cardiac vein joins towards the left of the middle cardiac vein. And then this is the posterior cardiac vein. It joins to the left of the middle cardiac vein. This is the middle cardiac vein. It accompanies the posterior interventricular artery and anastomoses towards the coronary sinus in the termination. So basically, say the end of great cardiac vein is the beginning of the coronary sinus. This one, it terminates in the coronary sinus. So termination of the middle cardiac vein is in the coronary sinus. It runs anteriorly and anastomoses with the great cardiac vein here. And then there is small cardiac vein. Small cardiac vein accompanies the right marginal branch. So right marginal branch, as we discussed here, this is the right marginal branch, which is a branch of the right coronary artery. It accompanies the right marginal branch and opens into the coronary sinus at its right end. And then anterior cardiac veins and oblique vein of Marshall. So oblique vein of Marshall runs over the posterior wall of the left atrium, and it drains into the coronary sinus near its left end. Whereas posterior veins of the left ventricle, which is this one, posterior vein of the left ventricle here, it joins the coronary sinus to the left of the middle cardiac vein, as I already said. And then there is small cardiac vein. So this is already discussed. And anterior cardiac veins, this arise from it is a series of parallel veins which actually from the surface of the right ventricle, it opens directly into the right atrium. So it is lying on the surface of the right ventricle, but then it opens into the right atrium. And then there are other small veins called as vena cordis minime, which are the small veins which directly open into the chambers of the heart. It is not specified as how many and where they lie. So that's it for the blood supply.